Good morning. In case you weren't aware, today is the day that we sentenced this guilty motherfucker. So let's get into what we know thus far. Court began session an hour ago, and Judge Subramaniam said that he received reams of paperwork on both sides of the case and that he was ready to proceed. The material included sentencing memos, exhibits, letters from friends and family, inmates. The hell was you been doing? You know what? And a defense video. Why that video was not provided during the trial, I don't know. Okay, I am still under the impression that his defense team really doesn't like him, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be. Um, Subramaniam said, and I quote, "I have read all the material and read the letters and greatly appreciate those. Maya will not make a statement at today's sentencing. If you remember, there was a woman referred to by pseudonym throughout the trial, pseudonym of Maya, a former personal assistant of Combs, and the government referred to her as victim 4 in the Combs indictment. Throughout the trial, she was referred to as Maya. She used to work as a personal assistant for Combs, telling the court that she witnessed Combs' frequent bouts of violence and had to clean up hotel rooms after Combs' drug-fueled sex marathons, which included sex workers. She also told the court that Combs had sexually assaulted her while she worked for him, and at the end of her testimony, Maya told jurors that she had never wanted to discuss some of these moments in public. Part of what she said at the close of her testimony during the trial was, and I quote, "It's the most traumatizing, worst thing that's ever happened to me." Judge Subramaniam chided the defense team of Combs, saying that the tone of Maya's letter that was submitted by his lawyers to the court about Combs was inappropriate. In a court filing Wednesday, Combs' lawyers forcefully pushed back on the prosecution's request that Maya be allowed to speak at the sentencing hearing. They said, and I quote, "She lied that she had sexual conduct with Sean Combs without her consent. She lied that she was a victim, and virtually everything that came out of her mouth was a lie," end quote. But this wasn't really pushed back upon during the trial. So I don't know what they think that they're accomplishing at the sentencing hearing with this. He's been convicted. He's guilty. This motherfucker right, he's guilty. That's why we're here for a sentencing. The attorneys who represent Maya defended their client's integrity in a statement to NBC News where they said, and I quote, "Maya was incredibly brave to walk into a public courtroom and testify truthfully about the worst events of her life and stand up for herself, her friends, and abuse women everywhere." Judge Subramaniam gave prosecutors at the sentencing hearing the freedom to cite acquitted conduct, referring to the actions of Combs in charges for which he was found not guilty. The court will be best to determine whether it qualifies as relevant conduct, the judge said. "We consider all the facts to impose the sentence, but not greater than necessary." So even though Combs was cleared of most of the most serious charges of running a criminal enterprise, testimony about the alleged coercion he might have used against former girlfriends Jane and Maya could be cited. After discussing how the court can consider content from acquitted charges in today's sentencing, the judge noted how Combs has denied the facts of guilt by saying he was paying for time and not for sex and evidence brought by prosecutors during the trial. If semantics were a person. Yeah. Czar Baby Earl is if semantics were a person. Combs did not express remorse for the charge of transporting people for prostitution, which the judge said is flatly inconsistent with reality and his accepting responsibility. Subramaniam said Combs has also challenged his guilt full-throatedly, which means he may not receive any sentencing adjustment for acceptance of responsibility. Now, Combs' defense team claims that their client might have his Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights violated if prejudicial evidence is used against him at his sentencing. A bullshit? According to defense attorney Shapiro, and I quote, "I want to be clear, there are Fifth and Sixth Amendment issues, double jeopardy at stake here." No, they're not. No, they're not. And before y'all go, "Well, he's an attorney, Dan." You think attorneys don't lie? Especially an attorney for this motherfucker right here. The Fifth Amendment protects Americans from being tried twice for the same underlying action. This is a sentencing hearing, not the beginning of a second trial. He been convicted. While the Sixth Amendment guarantees fair and speedy trials, the trial was fair, it was expeditious, his team decided not to call anybody, and he decided not to take the stand. Nothing was violated. And as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as more updates come in, I will bring them to you. Part two, more from the sentencing hearing for Take That, Emperor Baby Earl. Prosecutors push against report's sentencing recommendation and reiterates government wants 11 years. Prosecutor Christy Slavic has reiterated that the government is seeking a sentence of at least 135 months, slightly more than 11 years, for Sean Diddy Combs, and not a lower sentencing range suggested by the probation department in the pre-sentencing report. The government is not seeking 135 months, simply hoping that the court will split the baby to get the 60 months recommended by probation. That is not the case at all, she said. Slavic said the recommended sentencing range in the pre-sentencing report does not adequately account for the separate harms done to Cassie and Jane. Slavic referenced the defense's suggestion that the conviction is a technical violation on that and that Combs's life is about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is a gross mischaracterization of the conduct, Slavic says. The offenses of the conviction are serious federal crimes, Slavic said. From there, Combs's respect for the law is just lip service, according to prosecutors. Once again, Christy Slavic said that the defendant doesn't appreciate or understand the gravity of his criminal conduct. She said even at his sentencing, Diddy doesn't fully grapple how his actions got him here. His respect for the law is just lip service. She said, and I quote, he has booked speaking engagements in Miami for next week. That is the height of hubris, Your Honor. Use the raggedy son of a bitch. Damn. Now, the judge has started setting some expectations around the sentencing. Here's what you need to know. Um, This is what Judge Arun Subramaniam said before the prosecution began speaking. Factors he will consider. He's found that the court may consider acquitted conduct among other factors when sentencing Combs. The defense has opposed this idea when arguing for a lenient sentence for Combs. On appropriate sentencing, the judge accepted that the range except Judge accepted that the range of 70 to 87 months recommended in the pre-sentencing report is appropriate and saw no reason to deviate from that. The judge also said guidelines allow the court to impose a fine ranging from $25,000 to $250,000. The characterization of some witnesses, the defense objected to the same report's characterization of Cassandra Ventura, Jane, and the paid male escorts as victims. The judge overruled the objection, saying evidence in the trial established that they were transported for the purpose of engaging in a commercial sex act. Diddy's remorse, the defense objected to the same report not giving Combs credit for acceptance of responsibility. The judge said Combs had challenged his factual guilt as to his conviction and that while he has expressed remorse for some things, he hasn't expressed remorse as to what he's been convicted of, which is transporting people to engage in prostitution. According to the prosecution, this is not a simple transportation case. Once again, prosecutor Christy Slavic just walked through some similar cases, noting other defendants have received significant sentences. She said, and I quote, even though the defendant wants to frame this as a simple transportation case, that's not what this is, according to her. Combs inflicted life-changing abuse on his victims, according to the prosecutor, and prosecutor accuses Combs and defense of victim blaming. I concur. He has been doing a whole lot of that. Once again, as more information comes through, I will bring the updates to you, and as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section.